The winning streak came to an end last night, but the Mariners get right back in the win column today, and they needed it. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. This is Teddy Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. Mariners shut out the Royals 2-0 today. Their magic number to clinch a postseason berth is now down to 7. Could have gone down to 6, but the Guardians just keep on winning. They are also tied for first place in the AL West, heading into that series against the Astros this weekend, starting tomorrow. And we'll talk about it all on tomorrow's show. But as for today, we'll break down Luis Castillo's start and talk about the state of the bullpen heading into the weekend. But man, the Mariners really needed to win this game, especially after, the win streak comes to an end last night. That was going to happen. Obviously, they weren't going to win every single game the rest of the way out. And it ended in really annoying fashion where you did have the lead late in that one. And Adam Frazier, of all people, hits a fluky go-ahead 2-run home run, all that. But it was probably bound to happen in an annoying way anyway. So I was really interested to see how this club would respond. And, the offense had a clunker finally after scoring a bunch of runs the last few games. But Luis Castillo with a really solid start. And, again, we'll talk about him a little later on. And the bullpen has a pretty nice afternoon. And I mean, they keep the Royals off the board here. And I did some very quick research. So I might be wrong on this. But before we got on here, I did some quick research, and I believe this is the first time the Mariners have played a game at Kauffman Stadium since July of 2001 that there were only 2 or fewer runs scored between the two clubs. And they also won 2-0 in that game all the way back in July of 2001. And, we know all about the craziness of this ballpark. We saw a little bit of it last night and a little bit of it in game 1 as well. So the fact that you played a game in which only 2 runs were scored in the stadium and you won that game, good stuff. And man, you look back on that win streak, 10 in a row, they've won 11 of their last 12, and you see what the Guardians are doing right now. And it's like, they really needed every single bit of that win streak. Like, had they gone like 5-5 over that stretch, again, with everything the Guardians are doing, I mean, they wouldn't be completely done, but they'd be in a bad spot right now.
Yeah. But, Cleveland also had to rattle off a 7-game win streak. And then before that, I think they'd won 9 of 10. So I think Cleveland's won something like 17 of their last 20. So, you could say the same thing about Cleveland. You could say the same thing about Texas, who needed to go on a run here to even get back into this thing. And unfortunately, Texas wasn't able to win a single game against Houston. So on the plus side, their season's basically over, but obviously they didn't help you much with Houston. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could sit here and say like, oh, well, the Mariners had a 10-game win streak. And it's like, yeah. And the Twins had a 14-game win streak in April. And where are they right now? I think the Guardians have had a 10-game win streak at some point this year as well. Now they won 7 in a row, and just a crazy amount of their last, 15, 20 games. They've been just basically unbeatable. And so to sit here and be like, oh, well, the Mariners really needed all 10 of those. It's like, yeah, and Cleveland needed all 7 of theirs. And, the Rangers won something like 10 of 12 in late August, early September. Just like, that's baseball. That happens. So, the Mariners were in a position where their hot streak, it just happened to coincide with them already being in a playoff position. So, whereas Cleveland needed a hot streak to even get close to the playoffs, they're not even in the playoff picture right now yet. So, it's good timing, certainly, but it also coincides with the Mariners playing some really bad teams, particularly on that home, but B, playing just some really good ball. A few games sprinkled in there, notwithstanding, where they didn't play good ball and they found a way to win. So it's baseball, man.
Well, and eventually you outlast, or hopefully outlast, all those teams that are making runs. And you've just seen that with the Rangers, where, I mean, that had to be demoralizing as a Rangers fan, watching your club win all those games and picking up 0 ground on the Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your club is playing the best ball it's played all year long, and you are not rewarded for it whatsoever. And so hopefully that happens here with the Guardians as well, where you've blocked every single punch, well, almost every single punch that they've thrown your way in the standings, trying to hunt you down. And now you have a little bit of a buffer here. You're back to 1 game up on the Red Sox, so you're tied in first place in the AL West, but you're also the wild card 2 right now. And the Red Sox, I mean, they're in a little bit of trouble right now as well. I mean, the Tigers are in a little bit of trouble right now. Like, the American League is in a weird spot, but it also kind of makes sense given how mediocre the league and Major League Baseball as a whole has been all year long. Just seems kind of fitting.
Sure. I mean, right now the Mariners are a game away from being a number 2 seed and advancing straight to the ALDS. And they're 2.5 games, really 3.5, because you have the tiebreaker, away from missing the playoffs entirely. With 9 games to go. So it does make sense, because like we've talked about all year, the American League is so mediocre, so mid, without a dominant team. With, right now I would say there's probably 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that are still in this thing in the American League for 6 spots. So yeah, it's going to come down to the last week. Every game is important. And it'd be great if somebody could knock off Cleveland. I think they play Detroit 3 more times after this. Maybe Detroit will get their revenge. But maybe Detroit just misses altogether. So the good news is that the Mariners do have the tiebreaker over both Detroit and Cleveland. We'll see if they can get the tiebreaker over Houston this weekend. They do not have it over the Yankees. They blew that opportunity. So it is what it is, but the Mariners are still in a good spot, and every team that's been challenging them has had a run similar to what the Mariners have been on. It's just funny because Cleveland kind of went on their run the same time Seattle did, and so they haven't really been able to make up any ground on them. But they've made up plenty of ground on Boston, who right now is holding on for dear life and fading fast with their playoff spot. So it's a good win. They're all good wins now. It wasn't fun to watch. Like, it wasn't an entertaining win, but the result is all that matters at the end, with 9 games to go. And the result is what you needed it to be. So now you go in to this weekend series with everything you could have possibly wanted right in front of you and there for the taking. And we'll see what they can do. We'll talk about that series tomorrow, get more in depth on all 3 games. But the Mariners are right where they need to be, right where they wanted to be. And it would have been nice if Texas could have won 1 game in Houston so that you had a little bit of a buffer here. But at the end of the day, the winner of this series is going to control the American League West, and the loser will need a minor miracle of sorts to make it in. So we'll see what happens. But the Mariners are exactly where they needed to be going into Houston, and give them credit for that.
All right, so let's talk about Luis Castillo, what he was able to do against a very good Royals lineup today in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is once again brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. All right, folks, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. In golf, is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. And now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune into the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst and Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. It was another very good start for Luis Castillo. Now, he didn't necessarily dominate the Royals today by any means, but he keeps them off the board, and that's the most important thing here. Only 3 strikeouts today, whiffs, but only 6 hard hit balls, so generated a lot of weak contact and got through 6 on 84 pitches. I thought that they could have easily put him out there for the 7th, but going Bizardo there at the time that they did, and then with the 3 lefties coming up for the 8th, that set things up perfectly for Spire. And, we'll talk about the bullpen a little later on, but just a really, good, solid start out of Luis, in a stadium that doesn't necessarily favor him and all of his issues on the road against a very good Royals lineup, as we've, learned over the last few days, especially with some of the guys producing at the bottom of their lineup, like Carter Jensen, on top of Bobby and Vinny Pasquantino. Also, did Mike Garcia have a hit in this series?
I don't think so. Bobby Witt also was. I mean, he contributed, but he was not a major factor in this one either. So, good on the Mariners. I feel like they really handled those 3 guys pretty darn well.
Yeah.
It was Adam Frazier who got him, because of course it was. And it was Carter Jansen, who had a 140 batting average coming into the series, that got him a couple times. So, of course, it was those guys. But the Mariners handled Garcia, Witt, and Pasquantino pretty good. They had a couple hits. I don't think Garcia had any, and they just really weren't that big of factors in this series. So that's obviously great. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. So, what was it? The second inning where Luis got into a little bit of trouble, but he was able to get out of it. And from that point forward, it was a pretty chill outing for Luis. What did you think about his day overall?
Very efficient, which is great, because that has been a problem. Definitely could have gone a 7th, or at least started the 7th. But that was a good job by Dan to kind of treat this a little bit like a playoff game and be like, look, we could push Bizardo, we could push Castillo out there and probably be okay. But look, the way this is lining up, it works really well for Bizardo now. And then Spire gets his lefties, and then Munoz, and it was a 1-0 game at that time. So there wasn't even that little wiggle room of like, we have a 2-run lead, so if somebody gets on, we can go somewhere else. But no, I thought Dan handled that pretty well. I was a little surprised that he went that way, though. I thought for sure he was going to send Luis back out there because, Luis is the veteran and he's cruising right now. And he threw 84 pitches, and he really hadn't thrown a high-stress pitch since the 2nd or 3rd inning. Like, it was just very simple. And, Kansas City's an aggressive team. They don't strike out a lot. They don't swing and miss a lot. So the low whiffs are not surprising in this series. And Castillo's not really a high whiff guy any longer. He still can rack them up on some nights, but
I mean, he had 19 his last time out.
Right. But this is a lineup in this ballpark. They're going to put the ball in play. They're going to be aggressive early in counts. And Castillo just kind of took advantage of it by just trusting his defense, pitching to contact. He didn't run a lot of deep counts. No walks in this one. I wasn't keeping track, but I don't recall a ton of 3-ball counts either. So that's all great. And those have been problems with Luis consistently all year, even when he's been pitching okay. He'll have these long innings, and all of a sudden the line doesn't look as good. But today he was just very efficient, got a lot of fly balls, just lazy fly balls, only gave up 6 hard hit balls in the entire game. He had fewer whiffs than he had hard hit balls, but it's just one of those days where Luis was just fastball, slider, and then mixed in the changeup more than we've seen in a while, and stayed away from the two-seamer, the sinker, which has been his worst pitch. And he just kind of was like, yeah, we'll just go 4-seam slider today and work that way. And it worked pretty well. Again, didn't get the whiffs, but just 6 hard hit balls in 6 innings, only 3 hits, no walks. So yeah, I thought Luis was very efficient today. I thought he had a great game plan against this lineup in particular. Just go right after these guys, throw strikes. You can get a lot of quick innings that way. He had, just the one inning where I think he had throw over 20 pitches, and I think it was the second. And other than that, he just pretty much cruised. I mean, him and Kolek were just kind of like, it just looked like they were throwing batting practice and, just collecting outs and sitting down and all that.
I mean, I think we got through the first 7 innings of this game in like an hour and a half.
Yeah. I mean, heck, the longest inning was mostly because of a replay review that took 5 minutes longer than it needed to. So, it's just one of those things. I thought Luis was really good. This is kind of the veteran, like, establishment, or established veteran type of presence you want in a playoff series. It was kind of like when he went into Toronto and he just went 7 innings in the playoff game, and he only had like 5 strikeouts, but he was just getting so many ground balls and just never really a threat. And the one threat he did face, he got out of it unscathed. And you're just kind of like, wow, that was efficient. That was quick. It doesn't look dominant when you're watching it. And then you go back and you look at the numbers and you're like, wow, Luis kind of shoved. So it was a really good outing for Luis. He's got 1 more outing to go. Things start right now. He would be lined up to start game 1 if they stayed in rotation, if I'm not mistaken, because he'll pitch against Colorado, and then his spot will not come up against the Dodgers. So so he's only got 1 start left, unless they shake things up. They do have an off day, but Luis, pretty good end to his season, at least on the road, where there were some real disasters mixed in. So for him to end on this note, at least in the regular season, on the road is very nice. And it's nice to see Luis get back to being Luis, because we knew when he was those 5 starts where he was the worst pitcher we've ever seen or close to it, like it really marred what has otherwise been a very nice season for Luis Castillo, and a much needed season from Luis Castillo. And so it was good to see him, get this thing done today.
Yeah. I mean, at one of the most important times in the entire season where you cannot afford to have your bullpen get decimated. You needed innings from Luis Castillo in this one, and he provided. I mean, his last time out, you needed innings from him, and he provided. That's why he's the Rock. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this bullpen. We'll talk about that replay review and more in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. So Andy Bissell, take a bow, my friend. For those of you who don't know who Andy Bissell is, I'm sure you know who he is now, especially if you watch the game. You know who he is now. But he is the Mariners Major League Replay coordinator. And he was keeping his eyes on Royals second baseman Michael Massey all afternoon long. He had noticed early on in the game that Massey had his heels on the outfield grass, which is a shift violation with the new rules that were implemented.
Technically it is.
Yep. Colby doesn't like technicalities.
I'm more of a spirit of the rules type of guy, which whatever. It is.
But you'll make an exception for this.
Sure. I mean, it worked out great, but in general, if that call had gone against the Mariners, we all be screaming bloody murder because we'd all be saying the spirit of the rule is you can't have your second baseman playing shallow right field. And nobody in their right mind would think that that's what Massey was doing. But because it was in the Mariners' favor, we're like, the rule's the rule. You have to follow
That's right.
And it's like, I mean, you're not wrong, but also like, yeah.
Keep your whole foot in the dirt, man. That's all I can say.
I get it, man. But it's the same thing when like the runner slides into second and he clearly beats the throw. But then like the momentum, him stopping his momentum, he pops off the bag by like that much for like a split second. You're like, oh, he's off the bag, he's out. Like that drives me nuts. That's not what the rule is intended for.
Sure. Yeah.
So whatever. That's my little tangent, but whatever.
Sure, of course.
I'm very glad it worked out. And I'm happy Bissell paid attention to that and he saved it and all that. But like it's still, I'm just like, I roll like, okay, yeah.
So Bissell lets the Mariners dugout know, I think fairly early on is how he described it. Like, hey, this is happening. Let's keep an eye on it. And you might want to challenge it, pick your spot here. So Dominic Canzone grounds out. And then the challenge is like, for what exactly? And so then you see it and it's like, okay, well, by rule, that is a violation. And sure enough, they call it a violation. So Canzone is awarded first and they pinch run Victor Robles for him. And JP Crawford gets a huge insurance run, which very well may have won the Mariners this game, even though the Royals didn't score a run later on. I mean, that would have changed the complexion of Gabe Spire's inning and Andres Munoz's inning. But this Mariners bullpen in pretty good shape after today. Now, Gabe Spire threw 3 consecutive games, but he only threw 4 pitches. Last night he threw only 4 pitches in game 1 as well, right? Or it was fewer than that. I think it was only 4 pitches in game 1. Yeah, and with Yordan Alvarez out for the Astros, there really isn't a pocket in that Astros lineup where Gabe Spire makes a ton of sense. So it was, I think this was a totally fine decision by Dan Wilson to go to Spire again, knowing that you're probably not going to have a great opportunity to use him tomorrow. And then he should be, ready to go and be available again on Saturday. And then, Bizzardo has a really nice inning. I mean, Edward Bizzardo doing Edward Bizzardo things. And so that kind of leads me to my ultimate point here. After we saw Matt Brash have his struggles last night, your top 3 guys are Edward Bizzardo, Gabe Spire, and Andres Munoz. Like, definitively. Matt Brash is the 4th guy.
By the way, note here from Ryan Divish, that is the first error, the first positioning error in Major League history. So the Mariners continue to make more history in weird and random ways, as they often do. So keep that in mind. But Bizzardo was fantastic tonight. It's funny, Munoz, he hit a guy, he gave up a walk, and he also had 3 dominant strikeouts. So it's kind of like, just one of those weird nights for Munoz where he was really good. But this is why you need insurance runs, because even really good pitchers pitching well can kind of have a little bit of bad luck go their way, and it only takes 1 pitch for you to lose the game. So that insurance run that Andy Bissell helped get you was huge. And also Michael Massey. And I guess JP Crawford did hit the double, so him too. Robles did score from first base, so him too. But the bullpen was exceptional tonight, which it has been for the most part. Again, last night was kind of the exception, and that was Brash, and that's one of your guys. Like, it's one thing when Luke Jackson goes out there with a big lead and struggles, you're like, okay, well, it's Luke Jackson, like whatever. But for Brash to do it yesterday, it causes some concern. And then, Spire comes out, gives up a check swing infield single. Nothing comes of it. 3 outs on 10 pitches. Bizzardo, 3 outs on 9 pitches. And Munoz, again, like I said, he gave up the hit. I guess he walked Perez. I still am not sure if that actually hit him or not. But whatever, he gives him a couple base runners, but 3 strikeouts. Like, it's just one of those things where the bullpen tonight was really good. They cover 3 innings, 5 strikeouts, and to get their 9 outs, it took them 36 pitches. That'll play, and all of these guys should be available for game 1 tomorrow, and we'll see where they go from there. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like, if they're in a position where Munoz is needed in all 3 games, will they ask him to go 4 days in a row with the off day on Monday, knowing that they can kind of reset, or is there still, are they still going to have a point where it's like, we're never going to ask Munoz or anybody to go 4 days in a row, so they're down today? Whatever. We'll see how it all plays out going forward, but entering the Houston series, the bullpen is in really good shape. So that's a nice little byproduct of the win today and the efficiency of Bizzardo and Spire especially.
So I do think that pitch hit Salvi, but I think the broadcast was right in thinking that he didn't want to be hit by that pitch.
No, I think he wanted. I mean, look, no disrespect.
Because it brings up Adam Frazier. Yeah.
Yeah, like he hit the big home run last night. I mean, it was like the pesky pole of pesky pole home runs, but it was a home run. Like, but yeah, like you think Frazier's going to hit a double at least to tie the game, or another home run? Probably not. So Salvi's probably thinking like, I need to stay up here so that I can, try and tie this game up. And that is the type of thing Perez has done against the Mariners in his career.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think it did hit him, judging by his reaction, that he was like,
no, I don't know. He kind of looked at his knuckles right away and he was like, And I think he maybe looked at the on deck circle and he was like, oh.
Yeah.
Again, no disrespect to Slapton. Thank you for your service. But you did a sturdy last night, and I would much rather have you at the plate right there than Perez.
Did a sturdy a couple times today as well with a couple of grabs and
single
today. Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I wasn't mentally prepared for the Adam Frazier revenge series, but anyway,
Taylor Trammell up next.
Is Cooper Hummel still in the Astros organization?
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll call him up. He'll be the replacement for Yordan. If he's in the Astros organization still, I'm sure he'll be the one they call up to replace Yordan on the roster, and he'll hit like a 3-run bomb or something. Anyway, as far as the bullpen goes, though, if everyone is available, the priority list should be in some order: Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, Edward Bizzardo. No one else.
Yes.
Not Matt Brash, not Caleb Ferguson, obviously not anyone else.
No. And obviously there are going to be times where it's like, look, I would use Bizzardo, but he's not available, so I need to use Brash because he does still have swing and miss stuff and all that. But honestly, like if I'm a hitter, I'm just not swinging against Matt Brash, and there's a really good chance he'll walk me. Like, but then again, not all of us can be Adam Frazier and just, drop bombs against Matt Brash. So, but my strategy would be like, I'm just going to stand up there and he'll walk me. So
sure.
We'll, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but,
it's just the give and take of Matt Brash. I mean, sometimes you're going to see the filthiest inning you've ever seen. And sometimes, he just can't locate.
He was pretty good his last couple times out without really any kind of like, nervousness, but I would say at about half of his appearances, half of his last, 10 appearances or so, like he's faced the go ahead or game winning run because of his own mistake, because he walked a guy, because he gave up a hit or because he hit a guy, and then the game winning run comes up, and he's gotten away with it for pretty much all of this year, but it was going to come due. And I guess if it was going to happen to you, that was probably the best place for it to happen to you. The trick is to not let it happen again.
Yeah, I'd say this. He, in general, is the fourth guy I most want to see coming out of that bullpen.
Yep.
But if it's like bases loaded, I need a strikeout, he might be the number one guy.
You might need to roll the dice there.
Yeah.
So again, it's still situational. You can't avoid giving Matt Brash high leverage innings the rest of the year. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the most part, he's gotten the job done. Yeah. He was tragically bad last night, and we've seen outings similar to that where he's gotten away with it. So I do think that, Bizzardo just seems to have 1, 2, 3 innings every time he goes out there. And Spire, again, he's had like 3 blow-ups this year, but he's basically been 1, 2, 3 automatic every other time out there. And Munoz, he's Munoz. So you just kind of trust him and roll with that. But yeah, Brash is number 4 in my hierarchy of high leverage bullpen usage. And I think it's a pretty clear top 3. Really, probably based on matchup. Got a couple lefties coming up. Spire's probably the guy. But hey, Spire got out a couple righties last night as well. So he can do that as well. But yeah, I think Brash is clearly the number 4 guy in this bullpen.
Well, all right. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.